Welcome back, CSE 230 W1 to exercise 18B, our table form from our hero page, and let's jump right into it. This is where we left off. We have this very vanilla looking form that we want to make look nice, and we're looking at the W3 schools one, and they have styling done basically right in the HTML area, and they have kind of a corner radius and all kinds of nice stuff going on. Now we're going to do that with our table, so it'll be a little bit different, but we could borrow some of this. Now they styled the select text area and input, and they have type equals text here. Now we can do all of it and then actually do the submit button, because the submit button is an input, but that's going to be different. So we could maybe just give our submit button a class name and color that later, and then they have their container. So we're going to work with all that stuff. We're going to do the container, and then we're going to do our heading. We'll kind of work down like we normally do. So I'm going to work down, do this part first, then we'll do this part, and then we'll work on the details in between. So let's do the top part first, our header. We could go into styles.css, and right from the beginning here, we'll do a header, and I could even put header area, and then put a CSS comment, command /, and then we'll do header, because that's a header element. And we're gonna have an H1 in there, but we'll give it a background color. We'll go background color, and we'll look for a green somewhere. I think we have a kind of solid green here. That should be fine. We'll do that. Now it says color, but that's going to change. We're going to do background color, and I'll just paste that there. Now I don't need the color part. I just need background color. And that's our header area. Now what's going to be in there, I'll do this separate. We're going to have a header and an H1. And remember, with a space, that means the H1 inside of header. So that's the kind of the child, not the direct descendant, but it basically means it's inside there. So the header H1, where am I going to find stuff for that? Well, let's look at the other one. Let's look at our hero text. White, font family. Oh, here's hero text H1. Let's copy all this. Copy all this stuff here. And then I'll go up here and put it here. Now, line height, we don't have to worry about. 6 rem, that's probably way too much. Let's make like 2 rem to start. Arial black, that's good. And then a text shadow, that's probably good. It's probably too much because it's going to be smaller, so we'll take it down just a little bit. Take some of these numbers down and maybe make it 0.6. Well, it could still be, I guess 0.7 is fine. That's just the alpha on the shadow. And we're probably going to want some padding around it, so we could put padding right in the header. So we'll put padding and just put 1 rem to start, and then we'll go from there. And let's see what it looks like. And it's black, so we got to make it white. And it could probably be a little bit bigger maybe. Let's see. Why is the color white? I thought I copied color white. Guess I did not. Color, and maybe 2.5 rem. We'll see what that looks like. Awesome. That looks good. 1 rem looks good. That looks nice and clean. Now we don't have anything else on here, contact or phone numbers or websites or anything, but that's what we're doing for now. Now we're going to work on this part. This is the container. Remember, it's not a div, but it's a section, which is like a div. So we have container. So now we're going to do a container part, and we're done with the header area. So I'll go here and do, I'll just call it form area, because that's everything in our form is going to be in here. And I'll do section dot container. Now remember, when it's dot, as long as we spell it right, that means it's section with the class name container. It's not container inside of section, it's section with the class name container. And do I need section? I do not. Can I do that? Yes, but because then it just helps me know what area I'm dealing with. So I know that's the section container. And I'm going to give it a background color. And I'm going to borrow from that yellowish color from the background of our other page. I'll just borrow this. Copy that. Go back up here. I can paste right over it. And let's see what we're dealing with now. That's good. Now we just got to adjust the sizing. I think I did it like 80%, so it kind of moves in. And I'm not sure if I did it with the table or the container, but let's just throw it on the container. I'll just put width, and I'm not sure if I did it on the table. I'll put 80%. Actually, no, I don't, because that's going to change. I'll show you why I don't want to do that, and I'm, going from memory here. before I even do it. But now if I put this at width, this is what's going to happen. It's just shortening it there and it's making it white. So we don't want white on the side. So this yellow is going to be the background, but we're actually going to shorten the table part, the inner part. So we're going to go back to our contact and we're going to say, okay, everything from the table or the form, I guess it doesn't matter. That's what we're going to kind of bring in. So we won't make container any shorter right now. So that'll be 100%. So we'll leave that alone. So we'll go here. So we're not going to put that in there. We'll just leave container like that. And we could put some margin around it or something. And I'll move on to the table area and the H2, because remember we have our H2 and we have our table. I mean, I guess we could do the form element as well. Let me see, because the other one I didn't put a form element on it, but let's see if we could do if form gets treated. Well, let's see what happens here. I'll go in here and I'll do section and I'll do form and I'll put comma H2 so it does both of them, and I'll put a width of like 80%, and then I'll do like margin auto, which should center it. I'll put 0 and then auto. Remember, auto on the right and left should center it, putting even margin on either side. If you have a width, you have to have a width in order to use that. So let's see what happens so far. Okay, that's okay, except now we got to extend this stuff. We want these areas kind of spread out a little bit. So that'll be the table elements that we're actually going to spread out a little bit. And you can see we're going to have to put some spacing in here. We're going to have to make that a little different. And maybe we'll put everything in here in kind of an Arial font. I don't know if I need contact in times. These things are in times, so I'll change that. So I'll even change, I think I have somewhere where we have the Arial. I'll highlight these two things. We'll do font family and maybe we'll do a color in here. So we'll do everything inside here. Actually, I'll leave that alone. Maybe everything inside here. Color, I'll make it like a green. I'll just go green. And font family, I'll put it like that. And I'll see how that looks. Okay, now everything's in there. Now we could specify out some more kind of margin in here. And actually, it looks like we could put even padding in the container itself, because things are kind of butted up against it. So we could go to container and put padding. And let's put 1 rem for now, just to see what it does. That gives me a little more space. That looks okay. And then we're probably going to do some margin bottom on probably the contact form and probably on the fields. I think the labels can stay right with it, but on below the field. So if we look at what's going on here, we can kind of look at this a little bit. They have padding on the input fields. They have width 100%. We'll look at some of this. Let me just copy this whole thing here. And we'll kind of pick it out. I didn't do that before, but we'll kind of pick it out. So let's go down here. And I'm just going to do input right now. And I can even do section just to indicate that it's inside section. Section input, select, and text area. Now with 100%, that's okay. We could leave it like that. Padding, that puts padding inside those areas. I don't know. We could try it. Maybe I'll put 0.5 em. See what that looks like. That's inside. And then border, I'm just going to leave that off. I'll leave off border. Border radius 4 pixels. I guess that looked okay. I didn't use box sizing, and I'm not sure why we need it, but maybe I'll leave it in there. Margin top, they're putting a little bit above, and I guess you could. Maybe you can do like 0.4 rem, and maybe margin bottom 1 rem. I'll just stick to rems because rems are like 16 pixels. And then resize vertical. I'm not even sure what that does. I'll take it out for now. And then if I need it, I'll see what's going on here. So let's check this out. So it's going 100%. It's not going over though. We got to make our table. Since we're inside a table, we have to make that bigger because our table, they're not using a table there. So we now have to go to make a section table. And let me put 100% in there. See, I didn't do form last time. Last time I put table in here. Let me just see what this does. Okay, that looks okay. It's putting a black border on there. I guess that's okay. Our button's huge. We don't want that. Let's see what happens when we resize it. That's okay. Contact form needs some space below it, so we'll have to do that. We'll do a separate one for just the H2, and this will rewrite over anything it has initially. So I'll just put a margin bottom because this will cover everything for H2, but then I'll put something here for margin bottom. Remember, with margin bottom, you can only put one value. So you can't have two values for something that's margin bottom. And I'll just put 1 rem for now and see what's going on. Looks okay. I could even be a little bigger, but that's okay right now. Doesn't look bad. Might look better than my other one. And it actually looks pretty good, except for the button. We got to fix the button. And we'll just change the width on that. So now we'll have to go to the button. Now, how do we get just the button? Well, we could do this. We could go here and find the button. And there's our button. And we could give it a class. We could go in here and say class equals, and we could just put btn. I mean, we use that sometimes. Although, did we use oh, we have btn there. We don't want to do that. Okay, let's just put class equals submit. That would be better. So we're going to use a class called submit, and then we'll style that a little bit differently. So then we'll go here and put section dot submit. Now we're not going to put right here because it's not the name of section. It's just the submit class that's inside there. So I'll go to submit. Now you could do input dot submit. You could do that because it's the submit class of input. That's its name. You could do that. And all we're going to do here, and we're going to do this a lot different. We may change the border radius. We may change a lot of different things here. We may change the padding, all kinds of stuff. Now with 100%, we're not going to do with 100%. We might do, I'm just going to put auto in there. So it uses the text. And then I'll put padding. And again, because I want to overwrite the original one, I just can't put width 0. I want to overwrite that, so I'm just going to put auto. And for padding, I'll use maybe 0.5 on the top and bottom. And then I'll do a space. And on the right and left, I might do 1 rem. Now I'm mixing rem. I'll just make sure I stick with rem for everything. So 0.5 and then 1 rem. And then we can do background color. We could make it green. I'll just do standard green for now. And the text color is going to be white. So we'll do color white. So this is our button right now. And we'll see if we're talking to it correctly. And that's good. It could be made bigger. So we'll make it a little bit bigger. We'll change our font size. That'll make everything bigger. And I'll do like 1 rem. I'll see what that looks like. I always start with rem and then go from there. Because I think it makes the button text smaller than typical. We could go a little bit bigger. Maybe 1.5. And then we can maybe make it bold. It's okay. Maybe a little big. And again, you could tweak it as much as you want. Maybe I'll make it 1.3. And you know, I want the button to stand out, but not that much. That looks okay. It's nice and readable. See, not found because it's going to a contact right now, so we got to hit back. And I don't know if I need it. I don't know if I like it bold, to be honest. Actually, I'll put it 1.2, and I'll go back here, and I'll actually put submit in all caps. So wherever the submit button is, Oh, value. There's the value. I'm going to put it in all caps. That value should be the way it appears, I think. Yeah, there we go. That looks okay. And that looks okay. I think it's looking okay. We can make our H2 a little bit bigger if we want. We'll go back to our styles. Find the section H2. Let's do font size. And let's do 2 rem. It might be 2 rem already, but let's see where we're starting at here. Oh no, that looks good. That's probably okay. Contact form. I think that looks okay. And let's see. We could probably take away some of the margin when it gets smaller. So at our breakpoint, we'll take away the margin. And we could put a hover on the button. So I think we can maybe finish up with right here with this video, another video. Remember, this is the button. So then I can just highlight all of this and not really change anything except the background color, because I just want to hover state. Now right now it's the same thing, but I can do colon hover. And I'll just make it darker. And we could do cursor pointer or something like that if we want, but I think this should be okay. There, that looks okay. And doesn't look too bad. And the last thing I'll do, I think, is all I have to do is wherever I had 80%, this part here, the whole form, I'll go down and put it right in here. Put right in before the last query. There's the last one. I'll do one more. I'll paste it. I'll highlight these lines and hit tab, move them over, and I'll just put 100% and kind of remove the extra margin that's on there, and we don't need anything else. I don't think. Let's see what it looks like. We won't know until we go to here. There. See, now when we get to our breakpoint, it goes over a little bit, and that looks pretty good. Now, what we typically do is fill out the form and then hit submit, and it would use contact, except it's not finding contact right now, so we have to hit our back button, but that's something else we do. And I think that looks okay. I don't know if we have to do anything else. So I think we're done with this. I have contact. I have this should go back to my home page, and this should go to the contact page, and that should be it. So you should be done with part 3 here. That should be the last thing you should have to do with all your styling here. I'll just let you kind of look through this a little bit. I have my header area where I have header and my header H1, and that's this. Then I have my form area where I have basically the section container and padding. That's that whole greenish, yellowish, greenish area. And then I have the form, and I have a width of 80%. That's why it's coming in. I have margin 0 and auto, which makes it center on the page. Color green, which made all the text green. And then font family, I'm using Arial. So that's all this stuff in here and in here. And then section table, I made 100% because it didn't make the form 100%. Made the form 80%, but I needed to stretch out the table so that all those elements were in there, because these have to be 100% of whatever the table is, not of the form. So that's why we have the table width of 100%, and then these things are 100% of the table. And then we have a little border radius in there. There's a little padding in there. I think I did some things that are a little nicer. Margin top just a little, margin bottom spreads it out. So this is the margin bottom, this is the margin top. You might not even need that much. You could probably take out some of the margin top, maybe give a little more margin bottom, whatever. Refresh that, and that looks okay. First name state, so everything looks okay in here. And if you did the first part, you're okay. This is working. We have our links in there, and that's all you should have to do. So you should be all done other than the final exam and your final discussion, which will be about the previous hero thing or anything you want to talk about at this too. Let me just make sure it looks okay when we go to our breakpoint, and everything looks okay, and that wasn't too hard. So remember, we have a table, 9 rows, 1 column, and then we have form elements in here. We have input text, 3 of them. Well, 2 of them. We have a select with 3 options, and then we have a text area. in here. So look up form elements. We don't use tables a lot, but they're helpful for forms, especially when you have multiple columns. So anyway, that's part 3. That's the end of 18B, our contact form and our table that's connected to our hero page. So if I go back to About Us, it'll take me back to my home page. So that's just kind of getting started as much as we can in this class.